You all know I absolutely love color, and I love to incorporate rich, vibrant, beautiful colors into all of my paintings. And I tend to use a full palette of the same colors for every painting. Now, the main reason for this is because I really enjoy working with a warm and cool version of each of the colors in my palette. But did you know that you can create a beautiful painting using only 3 colors and white? If you don't have a whole lot of experience mixing color, or maybe you feel a little bit overwhelmed with all the colors in the palette, this is a fantastic exercise for you. And even if you've been painting for many years, it's still a really fun exercise. I truly enjoyed painting both the color chart and the 3-color painting, and I think you will too. Let's begin with this simple exercise. We're going to make a color chart using just 3 colors in white, and the colors that I have chosen kind of lean towards primary colors. They're versions of the red, the yellow, and the blue. But you don't have to go that route. As a matter of fact, I encourage you to do more than one of these color charts and try different color combinations. So I am using ultramarine blue, transparent yellow oxide, and magenta with my white. So I've also decided for my version to use all transparent colors for my 3 color choices. As we know, white is an opaque color. So when I come in and start mixing whites with my transparent colors, they turn into opaque colors. Not only that, but they are going to help me change the values, the lights and darks of the colors. So again, I really encourage you guys to try out your own color choices, and I think you're going to really be amazed with the results. I'm also challenging y'all to go ahead and do a painting using only the 3 colors that you've chosen for one of your charts and white. So if you want to start off by following along with me, do the 3-color cappuccino lesson, and then don't be afraid to branch out and paint a subject on your own. Let's flood our Facebook page with our color charts and our 3-color paintings, because I really want you guys to see all of the different color combinations that you can create by using just 3 colors and white. Now, you guys can paint this color chart on any surface you prefer. You can use a flat canvas panel, a regular canvas, canvas paper. I am actually going to be using Arches oil paper. So this is a really thick type of paper that has a little bit of tooth to it or texture to it, and it doesn't even have to be gessoed. It's great for oils and acrylics. It is a little bit more absorbent, so you might have to use a little bit of medium with your colors, even when you're painting with your opaque. I like to use this whenever I'm doing either an exercise or a painting where maybe I'm trying something new. So there's really not a whole lot of pressure because the paper itself isn't all that expensive, and so I don't feel like I'm wasting a surface. As far as the brushes go, choose a brush that you're comfortable with. I'm going to be using one that I actually got in France, but it's similar to a Rosemary and Company size 9 maybe, the Eclipse Short Flat, or a Royal Sabletech size 24 or 30 bright. All right, let's dive in. The 3 colors that I have chosen to use in this exercise are ultramarine blue, transparent oxide yellow, and magenta. And then of course we're going to be using white. The white's going to give us the opacity, and it's also going to give us different values so we can lighten and darken our colors. And if you notice, the color wheel, our primary colors are red, yellow, and blue. And from any of those colors, you can pretty much get all of the other colors. And so for this particular exercise, I've chosen to use variations of red, yellow, and blue. So I've got my magenta that leans towards the red, the transparent oxide yellow, of course, leans towards the yellow, and then we've got the ultramarine blue. So when you do your exercise, you don't have to choose these 3 colors. You don't even have to go with 3 that are similar to the primary colors. Just try some different things, and I would encourage you to do this exercise more than once and pick 3 different colors each time and just see how many colors you can get from just this limited palette. All right, so I do have my medium. I'm just going to use kind of a medium-sized brush. This one I got in France. It's a Dalby. It's probably similar to maybe a 26 Royal Sabletech Bright. Doesn't really matter. Just grab a brush. I've got my solvent and my linseed oil and solvent mixture for my medium. And my colors are already squeezed out onto the palette here. Still putting them in the same place I always put them in, so I know exactly where to get them. So I'm going to start off with the medium, and we're just going to go ahead and put down the colors by themselves that we have chosen. All right, so top, we've got ultramarine blue, and I do want to make sure I'm using the medium so that we can spread it out nicely on the paper. I'm using Arches oil paper. This really can be done on just scrap paper. I would make sure the paper is fairly thick because it will buckle if it's just regular paper. Or you could do it in your sketch pad. If you wanted to use like a water-based paint, you could do acrylic paints or watercolors. But if you want to kind of see how your oils work, if you naturally paint in oils, I would suggest doing it. Even if you do it in your sketch pad, just keep the sketch pad open so it can dry. And it's just a great little exercise and a great chart to have, to refer to, and to show you that you can do a painting with a limited palette. All right, so our next color is transparent oxide yellow, and I am making sure I'm cleaning my brush out really well. And of course, our magenta. So those are our colors to work with. All right, since I've got magenta on my brush already, let's just start mixing that. So we're going to come over here. So we've got our magenta. And then let's just see what happens if we add in a little bit of transparent oxide yellow. Okay, and if we add a little bit more transparent oxide yellow, we're just going to keep going. All right, now let's see what happens if we add more magenta to that mix. And I do still want to kind of keep it transparent here. Okay, a little more magenta. All right, and so this is without adding any white. So let's stick with these same 2 colors. And now we're going to start adding white into the mix. So let's grab a little bit of white. And really, guys, the sky is the limit with this. I'm just going to start right under here. And then we're going to add a little bit more white. Because you can do charts that are just value scales where you have these 3 colors and just maybe, keep adding white to see what it looks like as it gets lighter. Okay, we can add in a little bit more transparent oxide yellow into that as we move to the left. I'm going to add even more. So you can see that's giving us some really pretty neutral tones. All right, and without cleaning the brush, let's just go ahead and start adding in some of our blues. So we're just adding it right into that same mixture. That gives us a nice gray. I add a little bit more blue. And then we could even move over back to the magenta again and start adding some magenta back in. A little bit more. And then if we went in with, oh, let's see, let's just do some more transparent oxide yellow. So you can see that gives us a pretty nice dark value to work with. And then coming back in maybe with some white, let's start lightening that. So you can see that is very neutral. It's almost right in the middle between warm and cool. So how great is that to not have to add black or a bunch of colors to get a nice mixture of neutrals? Okay, let's do something a little different here. I'm going to go ahead and clean the brush off. All right, now let's go ahead and come down here with our blue. So we've got our ultramarine blue. And let's start adding in a little transparent oxide yellow to that. So I am pulling it from the side here to make sure I'm not getting the white that got mixed in with that. At this point, I'm still trying to keep that pure without any of the white. So you can see that goes to kind of a nice green tone, green neutral. And now we're going to start adding in a little bit of white. Okay, so we'll just do a little at a time. And I'm going to add a little medium just to get that to move. Sometimes it drags on this oil paper a little bit. And let's go with a little bit more. And you can lean a little bit more blue, or you can pull in a little bit more of the transparent oxide yellow. And again, we could just keep going with that. All right, so now let's start pulling in a little magenta into that mixture. So now we're getting some really pretty purple tones. Let's do a little bit more white. So I'm kind of just doing this randomly. I'm not really thinking about, okay, we've got to do these colors in a certain order. But I am just showing a gradual shift from a warm to a cool value, or a warm to a cool temperature, or a darker to a lighter value, or a more saturated, pure color to a more dull color. Let's go a little bit lighter here. And then if we wanted to start turning that, we could add a little bit of transparent oxide yellow. And a little bit more. And we could even come in and if we wanted to go more towards the purple, we could add more magenta. And look at this, like we have not gotten the same color twice, and we've got a whole chart filling with all these beautiful color variations. And then start pulling in more blue. So I'm just going one step further by adding a little more color to that mixture. You can see from the same pile how many different colors we can get here. All right, so we started with the magenta, pure magenta, then we started with our ultramarine blue. So now let's go ahead and do some with pure transparent oxide yellow and see how we can alter that color. Grabbing a little medium, of course, trying not to get any opacity into that. Looks like I got a little bit in there. Got to be careful about that. All right, so we'll start this one here. Let's do some magenta. Okay, so we're kind of seeing a similar pattern up in here. Let's add some blue. You can see that starts to turn towards our neutral, and we can get a pretty good dark neutral by using all three of those colors. All right, so now let's take, how about some Transox yellow with just a little white. Just some pure white. And grab a little bit more, go a little lighter. And you can see, like, we're running out of space here, and we didn't even do this with the blue and with the magenta by using just the pure white. But think of all the other values we can continue to add in. Just by adding that one white, or the one color to the white. And then we can get, let's do a little bit of the other two. Let's take some magenta. And some white. And our last one, we'll do a little blue with white. And making sure to take it from different areas of the strip of paint there, just so I don't accidentally muddy that up if I'm wanting to keep it more saturated and pure. And as we continue to add more white into the mix, we get these beautiful value changes. So look at that. We could continue to go on with limitless amounts of paper, but look at all the different colors and values and temperatures we have just from pulling from these 3 colors in white. So I hope you guys will try this exercise out. And on top of that, once you've finished your chart, go ahead and do a painting. Just do a small painting. It could be on a piece of Arches oil paper, so you don't feel like you're wasting a surface, but I bet you'll come up with a beautiful painting just by using 3 colors. So be sure and share those in our Facebook group. Let's see how many wonderful paintings we can create by using just a limited palette. Happy painting!